I'm here with Skyler of Varials to talk about Where the Light Leaves comes out February 27 on Fearless Records. First and foremost, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me about the new record. How's things going?
It's going good, man. I got my coffee. Slept in a little later than I would have liked to today, but we're
Same
chilling.
here.
We're
Cheers.
chilling. Cheers.
We definitely need the coffee. It feels I know it's late morning, but it feels like early morning.
Yeah,
So let's get philosophical here. Where did the inspiration for this very, in my opinion, very philosophical album title come from?
it's actually funny because when we were in the studio recording, we didn't really know what we were gonna call it yet. I mean, there were obviously like ideas that we like bounced around back and forth from. Um, but I remember we were at the Airbnb that we were staying at in Midland, Michigan, which is where we tracked the record out with Josh. And we were kind of like at the end of the session of recording the record, and it was just kind of like we still didn't know what we were going to call it. And there was a line which is Where the Light Leaves in one of the songs on the album, and my kid brought it up and he was like, why don't we just call it Where the Light Leaves? And so it was like one of those moments where we all just kind of like, okay, that's it, because it was like so fitting, you know what I mean? And I think it worked out perfectly. That we knew like immediately then and there, like that's what we needed to call it.
It's super catchy. It definitely grabs your attention because of the play on words there. I really like the fact that you guys created an album title that inspires thinking, or at
Mhm.
least thought process, or at least thought provoking at the very least.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think it goes really well with the rest of the content of the album. Kind of sets the tone for the record. And speaking of setting the tone, coming into this record, is there something that you guys felt that perhaps could have been done better in previous albums that you kind of wanted to check those boxes for sure coming into this album? You wanted this album to deliver?
I think for them, it kind of stemmed from a point of like, they wanted to really like push it to the next level when they were writing the instrument side of the album. And then obviously when I came into the picture and I got the official offer to join the band and whatnot. We knew that like some of those songs on the record weren't going to make it. And so it was cool because like we had, 14 or 15 songs total, and we scrapped half of them when we got to the studio to record vocals, and we wrote five or six brand new ones. Um, and I think it was just mainly set around, leveling up in the sound of what Varials has been for the last 10 plus years. Um, we wanted it to be loud. We wanted it to be take it back and make it heavy, but like on a different level than it has been for the band itself. And yeah, I think we executed that as very well as we could have.
Is there extra pressure for you coming into this situation like that? From what fans expect from the band, what fans will expect from you, what you expect from yourself?
Yeah, I mean it was definitely some heavy fills or heavy shoes to fill, excuse me. It was nerve-wracking in a sense, but I also knew that like I was capable of doing it. I knew that I worked hard to get the position itself. Um, I think it was mainly just trying to like follow up with a sound that was very like pleasing to the fans, and using my voice in ways that like I haven't used it previously on other projects that I've been involved in. And I think once I got to the point of really like honing in on what I was doing with the band, I knew it was gonna like change the course of everything for us. And we're a very strong unit. We're very happy to be where we are right now, and I feel like it's only gonna excel further for our future.
I want to grab that expression there. We're a strong unit. Considering that you guys scrapped a lot of the songs, considering that you guys recorded new tracks that were created in the studio when you guys were all together, do you think that played also a role in that unity afterwards versus you just coming in and laying down the tracks for songs that had already completely been done before?
I think it definitely helped for sure. just because, I've said this previously in other interviews, but like we are such like close friends already. And I think that definitely helps like push us further as far as being musicians and working on something together. Um, I think the process of it all, just because we were all going through our own like separate things as individuals and just people, I think it made the bond for what we wanted the band to turn into stronger. You can definitely hear like the stress and the anger and like sadness of life and just the angst and the grittiness of it. We wanted it to be just as human as possible. And I think with us having that in mind through the process of recording and writing those new songs and stuff, yeah, I think it definitely made us a lot tighter as far as like our bond with like what we want to do musically and what we're going to do musically for the future as well.
Is there a song for you on this record that proved to be quite challenging to the point where you're like, okay, this was good, but let's not do this live?
Not really because like all the songs were written around being performed live. There's some music out there that, I think it's mainly just like they'll write it specifically for recording. And then when it is performed live, it's not like as received well. And I think that just goes with anything, sometimes it's just not how it's supposed to be. But with us, when we were writing the songs lyrically and instrumentally, we wanted to picture in our heads like what it was going to be like live. And that was like how we structured the songs, the breakdowns, the verses, all of that. Like it's meant to be consumed in a venue, but also we wanted it to be visually and like visually pleasing with like all of the music videos and stuff, as well as like listening to it on record. Um, yeah, I think all around we just really aimed for it to be like consumed in so many different ways, but it was written in our heads to be performed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I even felt like the way you guys put together the set list, or I should say the track list, felt like a set list.
Yeah.
The track listing on this album really feels like a live set list in terms of how it starts, how it finishes, very well defined, beginning, end. But then even how you transition from song to song, there's a nice little dynamic vibe that reminded me of a live show where you want to create those ebbs and flows. You don't want to create a sense of too much repetition, song in and song out. So I thought you guys really captured what a band should sound like live in the way you put the track listing together for this record.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, when we were like placing the songs in each, way that they were gonna be like on the record, we knew we wanted to start with a heavy hitter and end with a heavy hitter, and then that was always Where the Light Leaves, which is the title track, and I'll Find the Dark. So it like closes itself out. But like putting the songs, like placing them in between and stuff. We didn't want to do a lot of interludes. I mean, there's a couple on there, but I think the placement for songs on an album are very important, especially if you're telling a story. And I think with Where the Light Leaves, we go through so many different emotions and areas of human nature in a sense where like, one song is talking about being like pissed off and at someone or something and then another song is feelings of doubt or being depressed or struggling with certain things. So it all like goes through these emotions and then it finally closes itself out and it's like, well, I'm never gonna be able to escape the purgatory that I'm trapped in mentally. So like I'm just gonna live here. And that was mainly what I'll Find the Dark was about. And I thought that was a really strong close for the record for sure.
I agree. One of my favorite tracks on the album is The Hurt Chamber. Just, man, from the first time I listened to the record, that song just resonated with me from the get-go. I gotta say, those clean vocals on that track are like so haunting, like goosebumps kind of shit. Like you just
Yeah.
It makes your skin crawl, if you will. Like they're so good. Like the overall delivery of that track is so good. Was that one of the songs that was done before? Was that one of the songs you guys worked out on the studio?
So the Hurt Chamber was a song that even when I was just filling in, I'm gonna scoot this back just a little bit. Um, it was a song that caught my attention immediately when I was filling in and I was just like listening through the record just for fun because I like wanted to be prepared in case I did get the offer and I knew I was going to. But I I knew that I wanted to have a clean chorus in it. And one thing that I had never done as a vocalist was kind of experiment with my voice in that way, as far as like clean singing goes. I mean, I've always, I've been driving my truck or something and been singing in the car. And like I always have been more drawn to music like that. And I had like rough ideas written out for it. And Shane and I like scrapped them. And I remember the night before we recorded that song, him and I wrote all the lyrics together for a few hours. And then the next day, as soon as we got back to the studio, I went in and tracked, and it was all the first take. So like all the cleans and the screaming vocals, those are all like they were separate, but they were all one take. So I did the chorus first, and then I did the underlays at the last on the third chorus, closing out the song. And then I did the yells, and we listened back to it, and we're like, we're not touching it. Like we're leaving it how it is because it was so perfectly imperfect. And one thing that I really wanted to do with writing that song was when I was singing the chorus, I wanted it to be a chorus that was gonna like captivate and get stuck in your head. And a good way of explaining how that chorus made me feel was like it makes me feel like I'm driving into the sun, which I really like because a lot of bands that I grew up listening to, like I love clean choruses. I always have, even though I come from like a hardcore background, I've always loved clean choruses and heavy music. And yeah, I was really excited that that song turned out how it did. And it's resonating with people very well and they seem to like it. So that's really cool to see as well.
Yeah, I think the reason why that chorus works so well is because, like what you just said, it resonates with people. It's really easy to see the emotion that is being portrayed in it, and then it's you're able as a fan, you're able to connect your own emotions to the way the song portrays its own emotion. I
Right.
think that track is just beautifully done, top to bottom.
Thank you so much. Yeah, yeah. I that's probably like top three, one of my favorite songs on the record. It's kind of hard to pick sometimes because like I think every song on it is a favorite of mine personally. And I think the guys could speak for the same thing as well for themselves. But that song is definitely top three. I think it's probably gonna have the push that Romance did for us before I was in the band. Um, but yeah, I'm really excited to see what people keep saying about it, and I hope they keep enjoying it for sure.
Was it hard for you guys to pick singles from this record?
Yeah, yes and no. We like jumped back and forth between like what we wanted to drop. We knew like off rip, I'll Find the Dark was going to be the first single. Like going into the studio and like when that song was finally like finished, because that was one that we wrote when we got there. Um, we obviously had the demo, but like then hearing the instruments, the instrumentals of it, and then when I like went in and tracked it, we were like, yeah, this is the first song. Like this will be the introduction for like the new era of Varials, I guess you could say. Um, and then we knew we wanted to do Where the Light Leaves, but there were also like just so there's so many like good heavy songs on the album that you we could have released and it probably would have done really well regardless. Um, but yeah, like we knew we wanted to do two heavy ones and then a clean one. And just to like kind of like simmer the tone down and be like, yeah, we can do this, but we're also capable of still doing this. Um, and I think the ones that we've released so far are good. They're captivating enough to keep people's attention on the album coming out here in a few weeks.
Yeah, the beauty is I don't think any of them paints the full picture of what the record is. I mean, you could
Yeah.
honestly pick any song. It's one of those records that I think you can only get the full picture of it when you listen to the whole album. The
Yeah,
singles do not do it justice in terms of giving you a complete broad idea of what
right.
the record is all about, because this record has a lot of little surprises in it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when I was, like I said, I mean, when we were like structuring out like the song placement and stuff, like Where the Light Leaves is a record that's like meant to be like listened to from start to finish. Like obviously we know there's going to be the fan favorites. There's going to be people who are like, they should have like maybe put this song here or there or whatever. But when placing the songs together as the final album placement, it tells a story. So like listening to every song, you're taking it all in. And I think like jumping back and forth, I mean, people are able to do whatever they would like to do, right? But for me, being the one who's saying what I'm saying and speaking for the guys as well, like the record is meant to be listened to from start to finish. And I think that gives it like an even like better, I guess you could say, perspective on like what that album like felt like, going through all of these like wild things that we've all gone through as individuals and the stress of life and being pissed off and upset about things and just dealing with like, emotional turmoil. Like I think I strongly suggest everybody listens to it from the first track to the last track all the way through and then, do whatever after that. But yeah.
I, I couldn't agree with you more. I think it gives you a more in-depth feel
Mhm.
into what the band was thinking and what you guys have created, for sure, going from that first song all the way to the last song. Do you have any fun memories from this time in the studio with the guys? Like,
Um,
is there anything that you're gonna be keeping for one day for your memoir?
um, Man, I mean, we had such a good time, dude. It was really cool because it obviously like it again, like I'm not a nervous person most of the time. I mean, I deal with like anxiety on certain things or whatever, but it was a little nerve-wracking, but I was confident the entire time. Like I knew I had it in the bag. But just dealing with like I had dealt with some pretty like uh bad stuff like right before like 2 days before I left for the studio, my brother passed away.
Sorry to
Um,
hear that, by the way.
I appreciate that. So like I didn't really have like time to like properly like grieve, right? Like, and I knew I had work to do. And the studio was my grieving process, but um, I think being around like I mean, like I said, there's so many like good memories that we have from the studio of us just like cracking up and having fun. But in the time of it all, like it was one of like the best times of my life because I was around some of my best friends and like dealing with things and like being able to express what I was feeling in that time of being down about what I was going through. And I think surrounding myself with people that were pushing me and kind of being like you got this, like keep going, you know what I mean? That was the main core memory that I'll have from that time and knowing that like, wherever my brother is, he saw what I was doing and he's proud of me. So
You know, I'm sure you know this, but a lot of people will listen to this record and will find solace in it, depending on where they're coming from, what their very own problems in life and losses in life. Is it extra rewarding for you that not only the music that you make works as your very own therapy, but it also becomes the therapy of others?
I think that's what makes music so beautiful. People like latch on to certain movies and that gives them comfort, or people will latch on to certain things that in life that gives them comfort. And just like I've always been one of those people that highly agrees with the fact that music can save people. Um, and that goes for every genre. I think that it's something that can captivate you and make you feel less alone if you are feeling alone in life. Because nobody wants to feel lonely. That it is the shit sucks. But you know, um, it's it's so cool. Like people, I've had people even with previous bands that I've been in, like come up to me and be like, your lyrics like really saved me in this time of my life, or people that'll like reach out to me like online and tell me things like that. And it's such a rewarding feeling. Like, sure, I love touring and I love like meeting new people and I love traveling the world, but the the one thing that I appreciate the most is when somebody tells me like, "Hey, what you wrote helped me," and that's like the number one reward that I can get from my music always.
And speaking of being on the road and touring, you guys are hitting the road in March.
Yep.
A US headlining run, great
Mhm.
lineup of bands coming along
Yeah.
with you for the ride. Um, how is it for you? Do you have to prepare physically, mentally for a tour like this, especially when you're headlining longer sets?
Yeah.
What's your expectations of this headlining run?
I think that it's going to do really well. A lot of people are excited about it. We're obviously very excited for it. I've been down in Philly for a month and a half now doing rehearsals and just getting everything prepared with the guys. I think we put together a set list that's going to really like draw people's attention in and keep them with us from start to finish through the set. Um, it's definitely when you're preparing yourself for it, like you're like, all right, well, it's just in human nature, but you're like, what if this goes wrong, or what if this happens, I mean, whatever. But we're all really excited for it. When we were picking the lineup, we went through a few different like variations of who we wanted with us, but I think us going with people that like we were friends with and they were hyped on it and they were really looking forward to it. Like I think the tour overall is going to do really, really well. Um, and yeah, I'm excited to see what people say and if when they come out to the shows, seeing them like yell the lyrics with us and stuff, it's always the coolest thing.
I know you have nothing to do with it. I'm not one of those people that are going to blame you guys every time you don't come to my town. I know better than that, but
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I don't say that I don't see any Canadian dates there. Do you guys plan on something coming up to Canada at some point in time in
Well,
2026?
we'll be back in Canada before the year is up for sure. I
All
can't
right.
say when, I can't say with who, but yeah, we'll be back in Canada very soon.
All right, that's good news. That's
I
good
love
news.
being in Canada. It's awesome up there.
Listen, we want to have you guys here, especially with the new record. It just makes sense that you guys would play some shows here. So I figured that even though there's nothing on this headlining run, I'm sure there are going to be something
Yeah.
before the end of the year. One last question for you. A lot of people don't know this, but you guys have a lot of time to kill when you're on tour because
Mhm.
people show up to the shows, they see you play, they leave and they think everything is glamorous and fun and whatever, but there's a lot of dead time.
Yeah.
How do you occupy your time?
I mean, it just depends. Like I said, I mean, we're a team. We've got like our few like crew guys that come out and do the media, and we've got our sound guy and whatnot. But a lot of it of the time is just preparing. We load in at noon or 1 in the afternoon. We got to make sure all of our equipment is good. We got to make sure the sound is right on par with where we want it to be. So a lot of it is that, and then by the time we're like wrapping up with getting all of our stuff done, we're like, all right, we got some downtime. We maybe get like an hour or two to go get food or something really quick before the show and before doors and whatnot. Um, I like exploring. I mean, it kind of depends on the days. Some days I'll just, I'll stay in the van or the bandwagon or whatever we're in and, just TikTok. I know that's like not a healthy thing to do, but I'm an iPad kid. I always like if I'm eating something, I gotta be watching something. That's always been one thing that I've had to do in my life. But I'll go like walk around if we want to go like just explore the city for a little bit. I did a lot of exploring in Europe with Mike, Shane, and Sean, just because I'd never been over there before last year. So all the sightseeing and stuff. But a lot of the cities that we're going to, like if we're touring in the US, I've been to them plenty of times. So, friends will come out, they'll kick it with us, we'll chill, have a good time, and then by the time the set's done, we'll have maybe like an hour and a half to load out, and then we gotta boost off to the next place. So it's kind of hard, but most of the time, it works itself out. I make the most of it either way.
That's the most important part, making the most of it and having fun doing it.
Yep, of
Skyler, man, thank you very much for your time today. Absolute
course.
pleasure to meet you and talk to you about the band and the record. Once
Yeah.
again, Where the Light Leaves comes out February 27th on Fearless Records. Best of luck
Thank you so
and
much.
have safe travels out there on tour in March. And I'll see you at some point in time in Toronto.
Yeah, man, I'll see you in Canada soon. All right, take it easy.
Take care, man. Bye.
Yeah.